Congresswoman, you hear this. You heard Ted Cruz in May, Jesse Waters last night, and then what happened today with Hunter's deal. It's the tell that Ted Cruz, Senator Cruz, talking about. It sure seems to be right down the line of what he was saying. What's your thoughts on that?
It absolutely does. Hunter Biden's cushy plea deal is the definition of corruption. No regular citizen can avoid jail time for firearms crimes, drug crimes, prostitution, financial crimes, and bribery. However, to cover up for the big guy, the corrupt Department of Justice decided to only give Hunter a pathetic slap on the wrist for tax evasion and a federal felony for firearms crimes. Hunter Biden is getting a plea deal that not only requires probation, and if any average American committed to a felony firearms crime, it would be. I would certainly bet my last dollar that Biden's weaponized DOJ would throw the book at them. But if your last name is Biden, then the justice system apparently doesn't apply to you. Now, we have seen the FD 1023s. We have seen, as I mentioned earlier, the bribery, the connection, calling Joe Biden the big guy, a Ukrainian oligarch saying if you pay one Biden $5 million, you have to pay another Biden $5 million. We know that there is no Biden family business. Even the gas company, the Ukrainian oligarch there, he said that he was on the board for connections to his father. Quote, "We know Hunter Biden is not smart." Another quote says that he's stupid, but his dad would take care of it. Now, these are their words, not mine.
Sure.
And so there is a reason that he was sat on this board and paid that money. And we've seen so much evidence. We're getting more in this week. We just had more documents released that were heavily redacted, more 1023s, so redacted that the chairman of the Oversight Committee couldn't even really say what was in them. He couldn't understand what was in there. They were so redacted. And so we are still putting pressure on Christopher Wray to release those unclassified documents to the American people because it is the big guy that we are going after here.
I want you to see this poll, the Harvard Caps Harris poll. The majority of voters believe Joe Biden took a $5 million bribe when he was vice president. Overwhelmingly, 57% agree with that Biden took a bribe. 43% said it's false. But now look here at the independents, that what they say, 57% say they believe it. 28% of Dems, which I think is still a pretty high number, even for the Democrats. GOP, of course, is 87%. This is not good for America. You know, we've got China, we've got everybody that we're concerned about. Rob, doing exactly what Rick's saying. They're licking their chops, waiting what they're going to do, saber rattling, all that stuff people do when they feel like there's weakness in the office. What say ye?
I watched that poll being recited on one of the legacy media stations, and the reporter was like overwhelmed by what he was reading, as though this was shocking to him, but not to the American people. And Congresswoman Boebert, her approach to this is brilliant because she's flushing out all those who are, I would say, globalists, as opposed to concerning themselves with the American people and holding to their oath of office to defend the Constitution. And this will flush them out. We'll be able to see who they are, because this is going to be an election of the people. And we're looking for a populist president, and we're looking for Congress members that are going to do the will of the people. And one last thing, Gene, it's not shocking to me, that poll. And in addition, it's frustrating as we see this slap on the wrist for Hunter Biden for a weapon possession, a felony. It's just insane, the contrast in the two justice systems.
The contrast is, yeah, you're right. It is insane. And I believe America is up in arms about it. Most people, as you read the polls there, they agree with us on that. Let me show you something else. Pastor Hank, I'll get you to comment on this. This is another poll. 55% of voters say FBI is not sufficiently investigating the corrupt allegations against Joe Biden. There it is. Do you think FBI is fully investigating? Not really. 55% believe he's not really. They're not really doing it. Again, look at the independents are 41%. the other side there, on the other side of that poll, if you want to take we'll leave it up there for just a second in case you want to take a picture of the screen. Do you think Joe Biden has, as he has said, never discussed his son Hunter Biden's business with him? Or do you think that's untrue and he has? Well, look at that. 66% believe it's untrue that he has discussed. I mean, this comes, Pastor Hank, this comes as no surprise to anybody.
That's right.
Obviously, none of us. And I think all of America is going, hello, well, what have we got to do? Why do we not have support in D.C.? We've got Lauren Boebert over here doing something that should be celebrated, and she can't even get her own party to get behind it. Pastor Hank, what does that say to you?
Well, God's been saying since the conception of FlashPoint for almost 3 years that there would be a boomerang that would happen. The very things that they're going to try against the innocent, or they're going to try against this country, is going to backfire, is going to come on their own head. God even then declared that if we would continue to push back, there would be a put it back. Then he said that there would be a righteous rebellion that would rise among the American people that would say enough is enough. And here's why. We are tired of being lied to. We are tired of people who think that we are stupid. There were 80 million people that voted for President Trump. They have done nothing but to steal, kill, and destroy. It's what the enemy does. But there is something that is happening at this time that we, the people of God, and those of you that maybe you don't serve God, you have to understand. We are not without hope, because there is the goodness of God that is part of this pushback that will bring the put it back that we're going to see in our country, and God is going to make America great again. And it's found in Exodus chapter 33. Moses said, God, I want to see your presence. We need you. And God said, I'm going to cause my goodness to pass before thee. Now listen to this part. And I tell you, I hope some of these evildoers are listening. Exodus 34 verse 6 says that by no means will God clear the guilty. Proverbs 11:21 says, assuredly the evil man will not go unpunished. And I applaud Congresswoman Boebert for what she's doing, at least to get a discussion going. But here's what we don't put. I don't put my faith in Congress because, listen, They've already showed us when it came time, they certified an election that was stolen. They should have never done that. My prayer is now that those who we elected to office are going to stand up like Congresswoman and others and begin to create a discussion that says enough is enough. This is unfair to we the people, and it's not according to our Constitution. But I'm going to tell you right now, those that think they're going to get by with what they've done, God's righteousness and justice is being enforced, and we are about to see some exciting times where God's justice is going to be served, and we're going to see those that are truly guilty be held to task for it. So
there he goes, Sean Feucht, man with dead animals on the wall. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you too. Coming to you from my cabin here in Montana. So I had to make it very Montana feeling behind me.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks good. All right. So let's do a little, before we get into the lately, what's happening, I want to talk about, your bus. Got a picture of what happened to your bus. You had an accident. Kind of talk to us through what happened.
Yeah, so we have this amazing tour bus that's really, it's the only reason we're able to do such an aggressive schedule. And a drunk driver smashed into our bus on our last trip on the bus's way to Virginia and ran through a red light. The guy was intoxicated, and the bus totaled the truck. Thankfully, no one was hurt. But there was a ton of damage done to our bus. So if you want to donate, you can do that because the guy's insurance is pretty weak. So we're going to have to probably fundraise to cover it. But, everyone's safe. Everyone's good. And it was a really powerful weekend. And, we've had so much spiritual warfare. And I think a lot of times people don't realize, we're living in a spiritual war right now in America. And, our heart is to see this change through revival. And that weekend, I think over, 200 people gave their life to the Lord. So,
wonderful.
It's worth it.
Yeah, amen. All right. Well, let me show you. I don't know if you've seen your logo. This is your logo. Let us worship. I'll put that on the screen. There you go. Have you seen that before? Maybe a time or two?
I actually have. Yeah, I actually have.
Well, there's another logo out there around, and let me show you this one. Let us burn. Talk to us about what is going on with that, the Satanic Temple.
Yeah. Well, they say imitation is the highest form of flattery. And so, these Satanists it's crazy, Gene. They're like obsessed with everything I do. I mean, they send me death threat letters. They show up at our events. They pour blood over us. They do everything they can to antagonize us. And, they think that it actually is going to cause us to be intimidated or alarmed, or maybe they're trying to, cause us to stop what we're doing. But it really only proves that what we're doing is what they're trying to counterfeit, right? I mean, the enemy doesn't have any power to create. He can only imitate. He can only pervert that which is the authentic. And so, we're having Satanists right now. They're launching a whole tour. On the heels of our tour. They want to go to every state capital, and they think it'll be fun to try to rally Satanists. I think it's actually pretty pathetic. But you know what? We show that we're making some waves, and they're taking note. And a lot of them actually, Gene, are getting saved. They'll show up to our events. We've had them show up to our events, in Seattle and Portland, and they come to antagonize, and they come to cause us to want to push us and alarm us, and they end up at the altar giving their life to Jesus. That's happened a few times now. So I say, you know what?
That is amazing.
The light
That's wonderful.
Is brighter than the darkness. So.
That's right. Let me go to you, Rob McCoy. You know, Sean. Isn't this great? No matter what the enemy tries to do, look at what God does. I mean, they end up getting saved. That wasn't in their plans.
Sean is the most fearless human being I've ever met. I've been with him in those instances where all that has happened, and he's just calm as can be. He's like the Iceman, and the part that is very evident is this idea that the truth is never afraid of a lie, but a lie can't survive in the presence of truth. And when Sean is standing upon truth, there's no fear. He's in charge of being obedient, and the outcome's up to God, and God always moves with a faithful servant. And I love what Sean does. I'm so blessed by that man.
Yeah, you're doing it. And let me, Sean, talk about you're going to all the capitals. People that maybe they don't know, you're going to every capital, and that's why you got the bus. And you're doing these concerts. What did God tell you? Why are you doing this?
Well, when we had finished in 2020, we had finished, almost 200 cities in the height of the pandemic, and I just was praying, all right, Lord, we did what we're called to do. We gathered hundreds of thousands. We had the largest church service in the world in the year 2020 on the National Mall with 45,000 people. And we saw revival break out across America in a dark time. And then and I've been praying for, Roe v. Wade to be overturned for years. I've been believing God that he would do that miracle. And here we are. I was the first person to lead worship on the steps of the Supreme Court in a post-Roe era. It was just so wild, to live in this time, and started to realize the fight for life, the fight for the future of our children, the fight for religious liberty. Now it's at the doorstep of every state capital. And if you look at the state capitals across America, they're blue cities dominated by crime, dominated by overregulation. They're really some of the worst cities in the nation, and they're the ones that need the light to shine the brightest. And so we partnered with our amazing friends at Turning Point USA Faith, TPUSA Faith. I mean, we could not do this without them. They've just been so phenomenal to work with. And we've joined forces together to really bring revival to all 50 U.S. capitals. And so far, we've gone to 15 capitals. We have about 12 more that we're going to do this year. In 2 weekends, we're going to be in New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey, Albany, New York, and Hartford, Connecticut. And we're just continuing to see God show up at all of these capital cities. It's just been phenomenal.
Yeah. All right. So if you're looking how to stay in touch where Sean's going in the bus, kingdomtothecapital.com.
The beauty of it is God is moving in the faithful, and that is what's happening. And I I just conclude with this. Sean is inspiring to me. I'm older than he is, and yet I watch what he does, and it makes me realize there's nothing to be afraid of. Just go get it done.
But look at this news story, and I want you to be encouraged. This is what's happening in America. So good. Watch.